There was a few, and that's always really nice to have because, when you're scoring a film, especially, in the Midwest film community, it's like, we're usually kind of working our asses off and we take kind of a very blue collar, elbow grease approach to it. So it's like, it was a very intense timeline, very, much more intense for the people on set though, because they were stuck in the woods. But so the things for me for this film that really score-wise stuck out, there's a few different themes that to me I really had fun with. There's one of the main ones called Healing that we use basically at the beginning and the end, and that was a fun one just to reinvent in a few different ways. It was very tragic, and then it becomes, it kind of becomes sweet, then it becomes tragic, and it becomes heavy. There's one of our big scare moments. We created some really cool explosive-y Brahms that are just, hit you in the frickin' face. Those were just, one of those where when you kind of stumble on something like that creatively, it was fun. Working a lot of the folk stuff into a palette that was, very synthy at first was a really fun experiment of trying to blend, even some of our little stinger things are like a combination of a very strong polyphonic aftertouch, so you can control it to really open up some weird envelopes, but it was like a layer of banjo, a layer of super aftertouchy synth, and then a layer of e-bowed guitar to make just a little, but it was spooky, creepy, haunting, all that. And then one of the things I think that has resonated with a lot of people was we produced an original song for the film. It's an original version of a very famous public domain song called Hard Times Come Again or Hard Times Come Again No More. A lot of artists throughout the country are all this have redone. A singer I work with a lot in Chicago, we've done a lot of commercial work together, named Sonia Major. I called her in to work on it. We initially did a version of the song that was very folksy and finger-picky, and it kind of was a fun, hard contrast to the very sad ending of the film, and it's, jubilant in that. And we're initially gonna go with that, and then creatively the team kind of discussed, and we ended up completely changing paths, taking the same song and then turning it into a much more minimalist electronic version of the song, and had Sonia kind of go from country vocal now, then traditional country vocalist, to a much more pop, akin to a Billie Eilish or something like that type of spooky, gothy energy. It just ended up being way more beautiful than I expected when I even just pitched the list of public domain songs out of the gate. I thought we'd just kind of be all right, acoustic guitar, we're done. And it ended up being this really, really beautiful composition, and it was something that we had to sneak in on a tight deadline because we came to that realization that, a little bit late in the process, but that's the nature of creative work. But a lot of really cool, fun, invigorating parts that made it very easy to wake up and work on this film for the chunk of time I got to. All right, so one of the main themes we had in this film that we played through on the Hydra itself is this theme called Healing that we use, and this is kind of a fun example of, we use this theme a few times in the movie, but the first time you hear it is in this very sweet context. Hydra. Off we go. Really just spaced out acoustic guitar. Then we layer in a banjo. This one was super fun in that way. I was able to work with Victoria Salazar, who's one of my favorite sound designers to work with. Not that we ever play favorites or anything. But what was cool is that the sound design and audio team had a bunch of my demos and the temp music that I created for the film that was usually 60, 70, 80% of the way there. So when they were designing, they were able to design around this palette and this world that I already created. So I think there was a really nice collaboration thing where it's we weren't guessing what the other person was doing. Often we kind of already knew, so we were able to work around each other, which I think just, gives us the opportunity to create more effective storytelling. If I'm filling a space, they don't have to fill it. And if I know they're filling a gap, I don't have to maybe be so writing over the top. Having Jamie Venadia, our mixer on the film, it was, again, a pleasure to know that he and I can have a conversation about some of these big scares or some of these jump scares and how to approach them from an audio standpoint, and to make sure that I'm giving them space that they need to operate and they're giving me space so that, for me, my music is mixed nice and loud and hits you in the face and hits the way that I would hope it would hit. So yeah, the main thing for me is like being able to collaborate with people that are like literally down the hall that I have a good long-standing relationship with is a very, very strong thing. But what was even cooler is that they kind of knew where my score was going as I was kind of knowing where it was going. The two were able to work very symbiotically, and I think it made for a much more effective soundtrack at times. So one of my favorite pieces in this film is called scratching, and we use it at a few escalating moments to, give a very strong sense of horror. It's probably our biggest, loudest, least subtle piece in the film, but that's also why it's super fun. So to give you an idea how it sounds. That's one occurrence of it, but it'd be kind of fun to take a look at the layers. So it's driven by our Rev, DSI, Dave Smith Prophet is a big chunk of it. And then we start layering it with a little bit of a glitchy sound. Really escalate. Check out Ghosts of the Void on all major streaming VOD platforms.